Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a Pokemon that dramatically exceeded my expectations in the Ultra League, and that is Shadow Golurk. Golurk is a ground and ghost type Pokemon with a moveset of Mud Slap, Shadow Punch, and Dynamic Punch. Mud Slap this season got increased damage and energy generation, and Shadow Punch got a big increase in damage as well. Golurk is a very frail Pokemon, but honestly, it felt amazing to use in the meta. I paired it up with a Shadow Drapion and a Miltank, and had a bunch of 4-1 sets, and I was able to climb up to 2457 ELO. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and take a look at Shadow Golurk in the Open Ultra League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a good lead, Shadow Golurk versus Pangoro. Pangoro is a dark type into a ghost type, so at first it might seem like this is actually going to be a good matchup for Pangoro. But Shadow Golurk is able to win the ones straight Shadow Punch. Karate Chop is double resisted, so the Panda Bear is never going to be able to farm down. You can tank the first Night Slash, shield the second, and this Shadow Punch right here knocks out. Every Pangoro team has basically 2 poisons in the back, so once you get the KO, they're forced to bring in something with a poison fast move, which has very little fast move pressure, and just like that, Golurk has gotten through 1.5 Pokemon on their team. And now I can save switch into Drapion just to check and see if they happen to have any steals in the back that Miltank would be completely walled by. I'm going to farm up a ton of energy here with the Shadow Drapion, building up to the back-to-back crunches. Crunch is going to be shielded, and then they end up catching the second one onto Galar Weezing, and this game is without a doubt over. Galar Weezing not going to be able to, honestly with the Fairy Winds, a Brutal Swing might knock out at this range. Previously I could have held on, but the Fairy Winds, due to the extra damage this season, are actually adding up, and now I'm at the back-to-back Aqua Tails. Opponent should have a Brutal Swing loaded here, but my Aqua Tail should right about KO here. It'll be within a couple HP. The Aqua Tail leaves them on 1 HP. They could have thrown a move, but they decided to let it go, hoping for farm with the Tentacruel. I can just bring in the Miltank. They have no way to get through Miltank's HP, and they will resign the match. Terrible lead in the next match, Shadow Golurk versus Shadow Dragonite. I save switch into Shadow Drapion. Opponent is going to bring out Cobalion. This game is off to an atrociously bad start, as I've hard lost lead and I've hard lost swap. However, the thing is, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to set up farm for Shadow Golurk, because Shadow Punch is now a pretty good move. So Shadow Punch can inflict some pretty serious damage on Dragonite. So I will go for the Aqua Tail, and now I'm intentionally not going to throw until I double up. If I got the double up, then I could force a shield. If they throw before then, that's fine. That leaves them healthier, and now I can get more farm. Go Battle League is not always a game about linear matchups. In a lot of situations, it's about soft losing to get energy. Because now I have a Shadow Punch ready to go for the Dragonite, and this will probably do about half their total HP, which makes it a lot easier for Miltank to win in the endgame. So I fire off the Shadow Punch, that's going to connect. In comes the Miltank, in the back is a Shadow Feraligatr, and this is the core that I'm trying to target with Miltank. Body Slam is very unimpressive post-nerf, especially in the Ultra League, but I brought Miltank on the team because specifically it has a lot of bulk, it has the Shadow Claw resist, and with Ice Beam it can hit back and beat stuff like Zygarde and Dragonite. They're going to fire off Hydro Cannon after Hydro Cannon in these matchups. This Body Slam will not KO, opponent can actually no shield here, and they're going to do exactly that. I'm 1 off the next Body Slam, which means the opponent should do 1 and throw. So I wait the turn, switch, and get the Sack Swap onto Golurk, and that is going to win me this game. They KO the Golurk, they can send in the Dragonite. Dragonite now going to get hit with the Body Slam. They need to double up with Dragonite to have any chance of winning, and they just don't have enough energy. They're unable to get the double up. They had 1 move, but throwing it doesn't win them the game, because, unfortunately for them, their Feraligatr is fully dry. So even if they were able to force the shield, I can just outpace the Feraligatr by 1 singular turn, and it looks like the opponent, upon realizing this, has closed the app. So now Miltank gets to make it to a Body Slam and take the win. Hopping into the next match, Shadow Golurk versus Mandibuzz. Not a good lead. I'm going to save switch into Shadow Drapion. Opponent brings out XL Gastrodon. I thought I was done with this Pokemon in the Gray League, but here it is in the Ultra League. Crunch is going to connect. I get the defense drop. Opponent could have gone for an Earth Power there to force a shield, but they don't decide to throw it. And that is actually going to cost them a shield. Unfortunately, I'm only going to be able to make it to an Aqua Tail, and if my opponent's been counting, they know this will not KO. So they are going to let that go. I'm now going to bring in Golurk. You cannot hold 2 Earth Powers. Earth Power is over 50 energy, so I'm going to be able to tank 1, farm down, and then it's all up to Miltank, and in the back is a Shadow Typhlosion. Okay, this is a winnable endgame for the Miltank. This is why I do like either Miltank or Licky Licky in this role. It does leave you ABA weak to Virizion, but Virizion is pretty playable. Like, Miltank, of course, has Ice Beam. Drapion can put up a nice fight as well, and if you get energy on Golurk, Golurk's energy can hit Virizion quite hard. My opponent is just going to go straight Thunder Punch at this point, understanding that Thunder Punch is going to output quite a bit of damage. My opponent is going to switch out into Mandibuzz, and now I get to unleash the Ice Beam. Ice Beam will connect. I'm not in a range where a Dark Pulse will KO, so even though I don't have shields, I really don't have to worry as the Miltank. They go for the Dark Pulse, Miltank able to hang on, no problem, and I'm going to farm up to an Ice Beam plus a Body Slam, and this is just game winning for me. I go for the Ice Beam. Here, I should have clicked the Body Slam, I accidentally overtapped there, but either way, the game will end in victory, so a truly atrocious lead for the Golurk, but we're still able to take the win. Hopping to the next match, Shadow Golurk versus another Mandibuzz. Come on, man. I'm going to save switch into Shadow Drapion. Opponent sends out a Shadow Steelix. Steelix farming up a ton of energy. They throw on 5, and this can at worst be a Breaking Swipe. It's a Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs, of course, will come with a guaranteed defense drop, but I'm pretty okay with that. I have so much energy on Drapion, and now I can just throw charge move after charge move after charge move into the Steelix, always doing 1 and the move, which is the correct timing if you're a 2-turn user versus a 3-turn user. You want to throw on 1, 4, or 7 if you're the 2-turn user in this matchup. Opponent will fire off more energy. Again, I'm letting it go. They go for another Psychic Fangs that will still not KO, and I'm going to be able to force both shields from my opponent. They do end up double shielding, and that works out great for me, as I can bring in the Golurk. Golurk looking for that full farm down. They're going to fire off energy. If they have Crunch, it is going to hurt. It is the Crunch that does a lot of damage to the Golurk, and I need to switch out here since I'm debuffed. Opponent makes a good call bringing in Sandslash. I couldn't really afford to stay in there considering I was debuffed, but now this is a really awkward position. The good news is that I am double resisting the Shadow Claws, but I don't have any charge attack pressure into this Pokemon. Ideally, I need to try and stall the timer, get it to 1 Mud Slap range, and snipe with a Mud Slap. That would be a winning play for me. They're going to connect with an Ice Punch. I'm farming up so much energy with this Miltank and continuing to chip away at their HP with the Body Slams. Body Slam will connect. They're firing off their energy, and I am going to double shield, as I'm expecting that a move from Mandibuzz is going to hit a lot less hard than a move from an Alolan Sandslash. Body Slam lands. I think that's Mud Slap range. They barely survive. In comes the Mandibuzz, but I make Dynamic Punch. This is one of the reasons why I think Dynamic Punch is pretty good on Golurk, is Dynamic Punch gives you coverage against stuff like Mandibuzz. I mean, you're not going to beat Mandibuzz, but it at least gives you coverage, so if you're stuck in that bad matchup, you're not completely helpless. Unfortunately, this is not Ice Beam range, and I don't even think it's Ice Beam plus Body Slam range. It'll be very, very close. So the Ice Beam is going to connect. Opponent will be able to connect with a Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse is going to get me very low. The Dark Pulse will land. In comes the Sandslash. I make the back-to-back Body Slams. This has to be enough to knock out the Mandibuzz. Down goes Sandslash. In comes the Mandibuzz. Can we beat the back-to-back hard counter leads? No, we cannot. Mandibuzz hangs on by 1 HP. And unfortunately, we don't win the game. Tough opponent in the next match, the current Pokemon Go World Champion Yakai. And Yakai has a Core Breaker on the lead as I lead Golurk into Virizion. I save switch into the Drapion. Perfect charge attack timing there from Yakai. And he's now going to bring in his own Drapion. I have a big energy head start. 3 Aqua Tails come very close to knocking out the Drapion, so the energy lead that I have is very valuable. I did take a Sacred Sword already, but I think that my Drapion is slightly healthier than his. If so, I can withstand this Aqua Tail, but I don't think he can. So I tank the Aqua Tail, I fire off this Aqua Tail, and if he shields, I need to aggressively switch into the Golurk. I'm going to aggressively switch, and I'm going to shield. Crunch from a Shadow Drapion will do more than a Leaf Blade. The Crunch does not debuff me, thank goodness. Virizion will go for a Leaf Blade, but I know I can survive this. And their double kicks are double resisted, so they're not going to have a lot of fast move pressure. I farm up a ton of energy. I'm baiting with the Shadow Punch, hoping for the shield. Shadow Punch does get shielded. Virizion looking for the farm down, but it does not get it. Golurk makes Dynamic Punch. Dynamic Punch knocks out Virizion, and now I'm up a shield in an endgame, and I was able to finally get rid of Virizion. And now we have the battle of the rollout users, Miltank versus Licky Licky, and we both anticipate the catch. We both switch simultaneously. He was just short of a move, so I fire off the Body Slam to deny energy and to deny a potential game-winning crunch debuff. Back in comes Licky Licky. I shield. It ends up being the Body Slam. If he's running Earthquake, this could get awkward because I believe Earthquake is better damage per energy ever so slightly. But if he's on Shadow Ball, then this is just going to be a battle of Body Slams. And in a battle of Body Slams, honestly, I don't know who is going to emerge victorious. All I know is that neither Pokemon is doing basically any damage. So we're going to be here for a while. Body Slam after Body Slam connecting. It looks like 2 more slams landing can win me the game. But my opponent is now in the same spot. I farm up, and it looks like that is charge attack priority. And the good news is my Miltank won charge attack priority over the Licky Licky, which means I should have this game won. I tank the Body Slam. I click my own. It's charge attack priority again. Core broke it on the lead, but fighting back, and we clutch an improbable win in that game. Hopping into the next match, leading Shadow Golurk into Malamar. And this is actually a matchup that's not terrible for Golurk to stay into. Opponent will go for the foul play, that's very fine. But I learned that staying in this matchup for the Golurk, at least to start, is usually going to work out better for you. You can play the ones, and then if you want to switch out, that's fine. You just can't leave Malamar with 2 shields to hide behind. But look at that Mud Slap damage. That Malamar off of neutral fast moves is already below half HP. They superpower my Drapion, and they're going to bring in Steelix. Steelix, if they try and farm down here, they're going to have a bad day because the Aqua Tail spam is absolutely absurd from Drapion. Drapion going to spam out Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail at this Steelix. Steelix going to continue to farm. I make it to another Aqua Tail. This will not KO because this is the non-Shadow Steelix. So Steelix can actually hang on here. Steelix looks for the farm down, but Shadow Drapion's pacing is absurd. If they shield, I'm switching into the Golurk, combo playing and denying all of their energy. They get knocked out by the Golurk. They're going to send in Malamar. Now the question will be, what is that final Pokemon? I'm able to make the Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch is just going to cleanly knock them out. And in the back is a Goodra. Shadow Golurk does some nice damage with the Mud Slaps. And I can clean up this game pretty comfortably with Miltank. Miltank going for the Ice Beam. This will not knock out, but it does enough. It's going to be getting that Goodra into the red health. Goodra, even if they have Draco Meteor, it will not matter. Miltank can survive that, no problem. Goodra goes for a Thunder Punch. So my guess is they're on Thunder Punch, Draco Meteor. And I make the Body Slam. Body Slam is going to KO. So a lot of tricky leads for Golurk, but the team is still producing amazing results. Shadow Golurk versus Shadow Dragonite. Shadow Golurk, a lot of tough leads, but it's showing that even against these tough leads, as out comes a Shadow Donphan. Oh my goodness, you have got to be kidding me. Shadow Donphan here to completely destroy my poor Shadow Drapion. I'm going to be able to force a shield, but they're going to get a farm down, and Trailblaze from a Shadow Donphan is going to do so much damage to my Shadow Golurk. So I will send in the Shadow Golurk. They're going to go for the Trailblaze. This is going to do way too much damage. Trailblaze, massive damage. Opponent is going to hang on to make another charge attack. I'm going to let this go, and I have to try and sweep with a Miltank. These are double boosted Mud Slaps, and I lose some very important health. In comes Dragonite. My hope is that for some reason they just don't respect the Ice Beam, but they should always shield here no matter what because the Shadow Dragon Breath just does too much damage. So that's a very good shield by my opponent, and now basically whatever they have in back I can't win just because the Miltank is too low. They're going to make a nice switch out and a catch. They time it well to get the catch and sneak onto Clefable. And this is where Miltank struggles quite a bit. Miltank is very, very poor neutrally, just due to the fact that Body Slam is now kind of a bad move overall. So Miltank has done a lot of core breaking for me, which is great. But in these type neutral matchups, it struggles quite a bit. Like, look at that Body Slam damage. That is just absolutely nothing. And I will concede the match. Hopping into the final match, Shadow Golurk versus the Panda Bear once again. And again, we get to see this lead matchup play out. Golurk can win the zeros with a Dynamic Punch or win the ones with a double Shadow Punch. I'm looking to farm up. I do want to throw in good timing, so I end up getting outpaced, so I go down a shield, but I'm pretty okay with that. I'm going to throw one and the Shadow Punch. This Shadow Punch will not KO, but the Mud Slap after will. So I get to exit this matchup with energy, and if they're leading Pangoro, they have to have Charm Resist in the back, so it's almost always a poison, something like a Drapion, a Skuntank, or a Tentacruel, and you just get so much value out of this Golurk. Look at Golurk absolutely shredding. It's now KO'd, basically 1 3/4 Pokemon from the opposing team. I can now bring in Drapion, just in case my opponent has a Steel in the back. I want to preserve a little bit of Golurk HP in the back. It's their own Drapion, and this game is just completely won. With my Drapion, I'm going to spam out Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail, safe in the understanding that I'm not in Aqua Tail range. My opponent is in, well, they will be after I land this next one, but I am not in Aqua Tail range. So I can very safely no shield, because this will not KO. Knowing damage ranges on Pokemon as you get more comfortable with them helps a tremendous amount. Opponent will be able to pick up the knockout with the Aqua Tail, but the writing is absolutely on the wall in this one. I just get to bring in the Miltank. Miltank is going to let this go. We'll have to see if the opponent does end up getting a crunch debuff. They do get the debuff, and I will go for the Body Slam. Body Slam will pick up the KO here. Opponent is going to shield the switch and the snipe into the Shadow Golurk. In comes Tentacruel. Opponent realizes there is no hope versus the Miltank, and they will concede the match. All in all, I had terrific results with this team. I initially tried it with a Runerigus lead, running Brutal Swing, and honestly, Runerigus, I don't know if it was just operator error on my part, or if Runerigus just wasn't well situated to the meta, but I did end up going negative with the team. I started off with a couple wins, but then I think I had 4 losses in a row, and I was like, it's not working. So I came back the next day, I replaced the Runerigus with Shadow Golurk, and Shadow Golurk felt so much better to use. The Shadow Mud Slap damage is crazy. Being able to win the ones versus a Dark Fighter like Pangoro is terrific, and in a meta where there's a lot of poisons out there, having something like Shadow Golurk that can just smack your way through them is incredible. I did, I believe, go 4-1, 4-1, and then I think it was a partial set, but I was 2-1, so I think it was 10-3 in the battles that I ran with the team. I cut out a couple battles where I felt like I just really hard countered the opponent. Like there was one versus Junkus where unfortunately he led Nidoqueen into the Golurk and then had double Dark Flying in the back, and I just was really strong into Dark Flying in the back because I'm leading a Golurk. And there was another, and there was a couple other ones where they were just ABA weak to Golurk. I really wanted to highlight that even in bad lead matchups and even bad counter swap matchups, this team can put in a tremendous amount of work. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.